Hello, my name is Merrick Allam, and welcome to days 21, 22, 23, and 24 of the 60 and 60 challenge. That's right, it is the third and final 4-part video, and now we are completely caught up. Tomorrow we're going to start the 1 video a day thing again. This was horrible. This is a horrible thing. Don't get behind. That's a good rule of thumb, is just don't get behind. And if you don't know what the 60 and 60 challenge is, if it sounds like I'm just being incoherent and babbling about things more than normal, that is because you haven't been indoctrinated yet. Allow me to explain. The 60 and 60 challenge is a trial that I've set for myself to write 60 scripts in 60 days. Now, if you're not a connoisseur of film like me, if you're not a film genius who wears clear glasses and likes to talk about them in every video and also has a denim jacket and slicked up hair, God, I look so pretentious. But if you're not that, and you're not a big film goer, pal, right? That's okay. You don't have to do films, you know? You can do whatever you want, and that's the beauty of this challenge, is that it is absolutely up to you what you want to do. So for me, every day for 2 months, I'm writing a script. You know what you could do? You could grow 60 new types of flowers. You could eat 60 different kinds of Pop-Tarts. It's up to you. Whatever you think will benefit you the most. I think that writing these scripts is going to benefit me the most. So that's why I picked it. And with that out of the way, let's get into things. So, day 21, what was our thing? What was our prompt? Well, it was an open prompt, except it actually wasn't, because I also needed to do collaboration on a script too. If you don't know what that is, a little bit ago, we did a collaborative script where I wrote a sequel to a short film that I did in high school, and that turned out really well. So I was like, hey, let's do another collaborative script, we'll see how that goes, right? We decided to do that again, and instead of collaborating with the same person, I collaborated with someone else, 2 people actually, one of whom actually doesn't really have anything to do with film, so it was cool to get their perspective, and then someone who is in film program with me. We came up with some ideas, and eventually we landed on the idea of a parody of those Finding Bigfoot type shows where they're on the hunt for Bigfoot. This one is named A Hunt for the Unknown. Bigfoot, and essentially it is their trials and tribulations looking for Bigfoot. This is, for them, day 1967, and they haven't found Bigfoot yet. But what does happen is, this person's kind of, they've been doing this for a really long time. They're sort of at the edge of the rope. So what they do is they finally decide, I'm going to get a team together. I'm going to get a bunch of camera equipment. I'm going to get more sensors, things of that nature. I'm going to get instruments that I can use to lure in Bigfoot. And what happens is, they don't find Bigfoot, they find a unicorn. And the unicorn tells them that Bigfoot isn't real. So it is a, clearly, hopefully, a comedy about that type of thing. And, it's just a simple little thing. It's not too intense, but again, this is not within my means, so I wouldn't be able to film this right now, but it would be pretty funny as just like a one-off bit, I imagine it's like a SNL sketch. One hair. One hair. One hair. That's all that's wrong. Day 22 was probably one of the hardest script writing challenges that I've had this entire time, possibly because it was 3 things layered on top of each other, but also because I didn't have a strong concept that I would think of going in, so I needed to spend a lot of time coming up with an idea. It spent a very long time on this one. I finished other days in advance more. I wrote 21, 23, and 24 before I went back and I wrote this one, because it just took so much mental energy that I was dedicating towards it. I could not, for the life of me, figure out what I wanted to write. And so here were our prompts for those who are wondering. It was within our means, so it had to be something that I could theoretically film right now if I had the budget, or not if I had the budget, I'm sorry, the crew for and the time for, and obviously it wasn't nighttime, but if that was the case, I would be able to film it right now. And so that was a hurdle that we had to get over, but also it was genre bender, which is great, but it was a noir genre bender within my means, and also it was another story structure thing with non-linear storytelling. You got your Pulp Fictions and you got your Pulp Fictions. But I had to spend a lot of time trying to make a non-linear noir film that would fall under the guise of being within my budget, because although, Memento is that, I don't have a budget like Memento had, even. I have to think on a much smaller scale than a movie like Memento. So it took me a really long time, but I eventually came up with one thing that is a single-person driven exodus about them being trapped in a basement. And it doesn't sound very noir-esque, but I think through the filming style, not that alone, but I think through the filming style and the fact that they are trying to uncover a mystery while locked in this person's basement is noir noir enough for all normal purposes, I believe, as the writer of Our Town once put. Regardless, I do think that I finally came up with a pretty good concept. It's essentially, he's trying to figure out what's happening, why he's locked in that basement, and here's another thing. There's a dead body wrapped in a sheet in the corner that's been decaying for a while, and he doesn't know how he got there, how that body got there, and he's trying to figure out both of those things, how to escape, how he got there, how the dead body got there, all this stuff, he's trying to figure it out. So I think that really is what is lending it to the whole noir thing. So it's a good time. It took me a very long time to figure that out, so I'm hoping that, it's actually good. I have no way of knowing that, though, unless I was to decide to film it, which, who knows, maybe I will, Day 23 was Write a 10-minute play #2, which is great. We did one a really long time ago. That one turned out really fun. That I'd love to put that on at some point. That'd be really cool. So what were our stipulations? Well, I don't think it had to be within my means, but it was pretty spicy stuff. It was hard to do. So the fact that it wasn't in my means actually lends itself to a little bit more of a hard thing, because when I think of a 10-minute play, it is kind of intrinsically within my means. My writing style for it is very much within my means. So having to write outside of that for this was actually pretty difficult. So I added more characters than I normally would write with a 10-minute play. I added more props and set pieces and things. And it's called Torn, and it is about a person who's just minding their own business. They're just typing away at their computer when suddenly a tour group comes bursting into their house. And they go, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" And they're like, "Well, we're on the tour." And they're like, "What tour?" And it's a big misunderstanding. There's a big farce, and there's big twists and turns throughout the whole thing. And it's a great time. See, even when I do my hair, I still want to touch it. I don't know what it is, but I catch a glimpse of it in the viewfinder, and I just freak out. So day 24, which is also our final day of these 3-4-part episode videos, is called Bulletproof Jest. And it is about a comedian who, after telling a horrible set, walks out of a comedy club at night, gets in a confrontation, in a scuffle, and is in the middle of delivering a one-liner to this person who's taunting him. They get shot, but nothing happens. They're fine. And they look down, and they finish their one-liner, and then blood starts rushing out. And through a series of trial and error, they realize that they have a superpower, which is they cannot be hurt while in the middle of telling a joke. So until they tell the punchline, none of that damage will come onto them. I think this one's a really fun concept. I would love to see this expanded. I would love to expand this out. So it's called Bulletproof Jest. It's about a guy who does that, and it's great, and he becomes a superhero because of it, trying to solve crimes with his one-liners, but trying to have the punchlines delivered in a way that doesn't, ultimately lead to him sustaining too much damage before he needs to go to the hospital and finish the joke, or finish the joke there and just see what happens. I think this is a very fun way to leave it off, because it's full of comedy. It's about a comedian, so there's lots of cheesy, bad, one-liners in there. So that'd be fun. And I think the concept of the superpower is very interesting as well, because it's temporary invulnerability. He has to finish the jokes, so he has to eventually sustain his damage. All right, with that, I think that just about does it for today, and I think that I had a very fun time doing these 4-part videos, but I'm very glad to be back into the regular swing of things, and I will be back tomorrow with some more magic up my sleeve, a new short film written for you guys, the internet, and really for me as well. This is help keep me motivated, is these videos. Speaking of motivation, if you are doing the 1660 challenge, whatever that may be, whether that be eating grass or something. I hope that you are sticking with it, and if you're not sticking with it, and if you haven't started the 66 challenge yet, I literally have over half of this challenge left, and also, it's never too late to try and get back on track. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting back on track with these videos, and now we are back on track, so it's great. But there's never a bad time to start, because these are here for archival purposes for a million years down the road. When someone picks this up and they're like, oh, I want to do the 16 challenge. So, if you haven't started yet, that's not a good excuse to not do it. Anyway. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.